I once had a childhood friend who was an incredibly mischievous boy and was more often found in trouble as opposed to out of it. He ranged from doing sneaky deeds alongside the best of his friends to creating the most grand of messes all on his own. He had many enemies, some of which would do anything to hook him down or even attempt to steal his personal values. This boy lived in a delusional land of his own. His way of life was a game, and his objective was to beat the biggest boss, adulthood and growing up. He had no intention of maturing and continued his troublesome ways throughout his life, all because he feared the idea of having to grow up. And so because of this boy very easily got trapped in a cycle of constantly reliving the same experiences, never aging mentally and not allowing himself to grow as a human being. Sound familiar? Maybe we had a common friend, or maybe we were all just read the tale of Peter Pan. Peter Pan's refusal to accept the reality of growing up is a trait that we read about at a young age, and although we don't allude to tales of magical apples and glowing hair, the reoccurring theme of not wanting to grow up is commonly present amongst the lives of many. So what is it? Why do we fear growing up? From a very young age, we as human beings are introduced to the idea of stages in life and the concept of moving through these stages. We go from trying to speak, then trying to walk, to learning the alphabet and later algebra. And so, as we go through these stages of learning, we begin to fear what more is to come. There's a significant advancement of difficulty between each stage, and the idea of having to learn more, try new things, or just attempt to reach beyond your comfort zone can be absolutely terrifying. And so we reclude to the idea that by not moving forward, we cannot do more harm than good, and we protect ourselves from the fear of the unknown and disappointment. Growing up often comes along with the idea that you will lose a sense of your happiness. I mean, how many people grew up listening to their parents talk about all of their dreaded responsibilities, high taxes, crummy jobs, and their overall lack of interest in the world? Modeled straight by our own parents, we so easily perceive that aging is just one grand disappointment, and that it only brings along more hardships, which despite not being true, can cause many alterations in our day-to-day lives. With the constant fear of growing up, we can often lose important parts of ourselves that never had the chance to develop as they were not given the time or care necessary. And so the question remains, why do we need to grow up? Is it really all that necessary? What happens if we choose to not age? Our good old pal Peter Pan is back, and this time in the form of a syndrome. The Peter Pan syndrome is a syndrome that affects people who do not want or feel unable to grow up. People with the body of an adult but the mind of a child. The syndrome is not currently considered a psychopathology. However, an increasingly larger number of adults are presenting emotionally immature behaviors in Western society. It can be very difficult to exactly define what causes someone to fall within this syndrome, as many factors can be attributed. However, common themes include an abusive childhood, a spoiled childhood, a yearning for nostalgia, adult skills having not been taught at a young age, and a general fear of aging. These life-changing factors become even more altering as through the advancement of the syndrome, many begin to change in extremely negative ways. These include losing interest in careers quickly, the inability to handle challenging situations, commitment issues, drug and alcohol abuse, unreliability, the blaming of others for one's actions, and the lack of wanting to improve. The result of not aging mentally can lead to horrifying events that cause life to not only lose meaning, but to also depreciate with time. As difficult as it may be to accept, growing up is not only an essential part of life, but also such a beautiful matter. I remember once asking a relative if he could freeze his life at any age when he would choose to do so. In his words, I will never forget. He swiftly said, I would never want to pause it. I want to continue to watch my children grow, view the accomplishments of those I love, and bask in the feeling of knowing I was a part of something. Life is about finding meaning in every moment, extending every opportunity, messing up but learning from your mistakes. And without moving through the stages of life, these ideas are no longer possible. We need to advance in life to find our place amongst the future, and as often as it is misconceived, it does not mean we have to let go of our past, but instead accept it and use it as a method of growth. And so, to end off our topic today, I'd like to quote our buddy Peter Pan one last time. Never say goodbye, because saying goodbye means going away, and going away means forgetting. I encourage you to neither say goodbye to your past or to your future, but instead use your past to aid you in the future you desire, and through this we can all learn to say hello to growing up.